Hey-o! I shouldn't do that. That's not a good trend to start. How is everybody doing? Oh, we got some fellow Vancouverites. Guys, welcome. We're back. We are back for the last time in 2020. Not the last time. Don't worry. There'll be more of these. But it's the last show of 2020. We are taking a little hiatus, as they call it in the TV biz. We're going to take a little hiatus for the rest of December and into January. And we don't have it all worked out when we're going to come back yet. We're not, I say the TV biz. We're not the TV biz. We're the music software biz that's doing this for fun. And we're going to keep doing it, but we don't know exactly when we're going to come back on. It'll be in January at some point. So stay tuned for that. But guys, remind me. I'm not reminding me. I just read a message from Stefan reminding me something. No, not remind me. Guys, here's the thing I'm excited about. To be able to say this is the last stream of 2020, you know what it means? It means it's the last something of 2020. Like, we are about to close the book on 2020. And you know, I gotta say, 2020 hasn't been all bad. I mean, granted, there's the global existential mortal crisis we're dealing with, so there's that. But if you put that on one side, on the other side, I think we've had a lot of fun, in this year. This stream was an outcropping of the COVID pandemic in a weird connected way. I actually went back and watched the first live stream. I was gonna play a clip of it, but then I was like, I can't take it. It was amateur hour, man. It was the webcam. I was just like, my room looked weird and I looked weird. I couldn't do it. I couldn't watch it. But I did go back and watch a little bit of it and was sort of reminiscing about how this whole thing got started. And it got started with, to be quite honest, it got started with me and us at Reason Studios sort of thinking about you guys, in those early days when countries were all locked down. Some of us, California, I'm looking in your direction, still are. But it got started with us wondering, how are you guys doing? And let's connect. And let's, in the era of social distancing that we were just entering, let's actually get more socially connected. And let's actually start, that's my brother announcing a near miss on getting his PS5. Okay. We actually started with us getting closer together and connecting both musically and socially. And I don't know, it's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys have been having fun as well. So Stefan says so. Definitely having a lot of fun during these streams. Look at this. Tim, these streams have pushed me into starting to write music again. Tim, that is to use the cliche, that's music to my ears. But pun intended. That really is, that's kind of what it's all about, right? It's if we all use these streams to hang out, connect with each other, but really kind of get inspired to make more music, that is perfect. In fact, this is what we call in the business a pivot. I have a music making challenge for you guys. I don't know if you guys saw this, but on our socials and whatnot, on our blog, we have announced we've partnered with Gabriel Gassy. He's a Reason artist. He's an artist, producer. You may know him if you've ever opened up the Reason demo song called Street Phone. That's a Gabriel Gassy track. And he's based out of Sweden, and he has put out a song around the holiday times. I think it's vaguely holiday themed. And he has sent to us at Reason Studios for you guys the stems and a challenge, a remix challenge. And he is looking for you guys to dig into his stems, remix this tune. And this is, when we did the Reason 1.0 song challenge, the sort of prize, it wasn't a prize, but I guess the reward or whatever you want to call it, the upside to participating it beyond just having fun making music, was that we played them on the air and we kind of all hung out and checked out some of our favorites. This one's the stakes are a little higher on this one. Gabriel will be choosing a sort of winner, his favorite, I guess. It's weird. Winner, and that sounds like contest. It's not a contest. It's just a music making challenge. But he's going to be picking his favorite and releasing it along with his other tunes that are going onto that release, whatever it is, onto all his streaming platforms, Spotify, everywhere. So it'll be an official remix on Gabriel Gassy's catalog now, forever. It's like a tattoo. You can't, it takes lasers to get that remix off of his Spotify. So I wanted to show you. Let me see if I can, oh boy, I always get scared when I go into this unknown, but I think, okay, it worked. Okay, I'm going to bring up Reason here for a second. I have Gabriel's stem file here that I've opened up. You can get this on our blog. So if you go to our blog, reasonstudios.com/blog, it's going to be like, if not the most recent post, it'll be the next post or something. We just posted it recently. And you can download, there's a very obvious button that says like download the files or get the files or something like that. And when you download that, you're going to get this. And it's a whole bunch of just audio renders. And this is fun. If you have not messed around with remixing before, this is how it happens. You get, stems from a record company, when those existed, or an artist or a management team or whatever, whoever's kind of like commissioning you to do the remix. You get these stems like this, and then you kind of have to like dig into the song, find the essence of the song, figure out how to put your spin onto it, and figure out what you're going to use and what you're not going to use. Because a remix, so the funny thing with the word remix, you're not actually remixing the song. It's actually kind of the worst name for what are, I don't know what you call it, reimaginations. I don't know. The goal is to keep the essence of the song, but to apply your own sort of vibe and maybe your own genre to it. So this is Gabriel's track. I'll just play a little bit of the stem file. The mix sounds a little different, but this, you'll still get an idea of how this works. Mike Zurline. I butcher all names. It's almost a tradition now. Listen, Mike asked a good question. He's new to this. What's a stem? That's a great question, Mike. A stem is, well, first of all, I should actually say, I think we all use the term stem technically incorrectly. So maybe I'll make a teachable moment to tell you what is a stem when you most commonly hear it referred to, which is usually incorrect, and what an actual stem is. And then you can be the smart guy and go, actually, which I'm about to do. I get to be the smart guy. But here's how it works. A stem is officially you take a combination of channels in a full songs mix and you render it down to often a 2-track stereo file, but it's not the whole song getting bounced down. So for example, let's take a rock band because it's a very obvious kind of example. You would do a stem of the drums. You wouldn't do every individual drum mic. You would just do a stereo mix of just the drums, a stereo mix of the keyboards, a stereo mix of the vocals, with or without backgrounds, kind of all stemmed in together. And then you send that to somebody, and they sort of have the essence of your song, but in a way that they can kind of get at individual parts. So that would be what is commonly referred to as a stem. In fact, that actually is a stem. What is more commonly referred to is when people just say, what they want to say is, can you send me what would be called the splits in technical terms? Or they could just say, could you render me out the audio files into individual files? So to take our rock band example, drums, stems would be a 2-track submix of the drums, a 2-track submix of the keyboards. The splits or just the rendered files would be the kick drum, the snare drum, the toms, the overhead left, overhead right, all as separate files. That would be more if you would send that to a mix engineer if they were actually going to not remix your song, but actually mix your song. You're sending it to a mix engineer and they want to be able to kind of get at all the individual things, but as rendered audio in a way that they don't have to call you up and go, I don't have that plugin, or your MIDI didn't load right or whatever. It's just the audio. That's classically called splits. People, though, refer to that as stems. So they'll say, can you bounce out the stems? Send me all the channels. And it's like, that's actually technically not true. Adam Dorn schooled me on that, and now I'm passing it on for everybody. So, but anyway, so let's jump back here for a second, and then I'm going to get over to our very patient guest who's hanging out in the corner waiting on me. But so we've got the these I think would be considered, these would be officially stems, because like we've got a channel like this called drums. So if I were to solo this channel, we've got just the drums from Gabriel's track. And likewise, we can go to the keys. So you can just download this and start exploring. And some of these things you'll go like, okay, I don't need that in my remix. But then other things you'll go like, oh, that's super cool. I'll actually use that in my remix. In fact, the obvious thing is like the vocals. And one of the things I saw in the vocals here I thought was kind of fun, just on an educational standpoint, it's also useful, is that he has given you both the dry vocals and the wet vocals. So if you're new to mixing and you want to hear what does a vocal sound like, what does the dry vocal sound like versus how does it sit into a mix, just take a listen to this.
Yeah, I guess he says the time of year.
Right? Okay, that's the dry vocal. If I solo the wet vocal.
Yeah, I guess he says the time of year.
That's like a lot of effect on that vocal. So if you're new to mixing and wondering, am I overdoing it? Take some solace in this, that you can go pretty heavy on, especially in a song like this. Like when I play this with the mix. That doesn't sound crazy effective, but when I solo it.
Yeah, I guess he says the time of year.
It's like bathing in reverb and delay and stuff, but it's actually more tasteful when you sit in the mix. So anyway, there's an educational aspect to this. Download the files, if nothing else for that, but also do a remix while you're at it. Maybe you'll end up on Gabriel Gassy's next release on his Spotify's and whatnot. So, okay, cool. I think, Stefan, have I adequately plugged your remix challenge? Have I done you right? I hope so. It looks like a lot of fun. I'll probably be playing around with that over the holidays myself a little bit. I won't submit it. I can't. It would be lame if I submitted it. I was like, oh my God, I won. No, I'm not part. It's like all these other contests where you can't win the Monopoly game at McDonald's when you work for McDonald's. So, but I'm gonna make one for fun anyway, and so hopefully you guys just make one for fun as well. So now let's get down. Enough of me, right? Let's get to our guest. Let's talk music with someone other than my face, because I'm quite excited to have this guy joining us. You may know his YouTube channel. You may know his music. I bet you might even know, maybe, some of his work that you've seen and not realized it was him, because that's the nature of when you're doing sort of commission work. Sometimes your work pops up places and people see it. So we're going to talk to him, but I got to say, leading in, he has the nicest YouTube video setup that I have seen. I mean, I'll talk to him about it, but part of the inspiration of my little zone was him and me going, I gotta up my game here. Jeff's looking pretty good. So let's bring him on. Guys, this is Jef Gibbons. Jef, welcome to the internet. Say hello.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing?
Or Ryan, anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
right.
what I could see.
Still just me.
Yep.
But they're all out there. I'm going to be throwing out some comments and stuff. Mick Benjamin says it's always Jef time. All right.
Mick.
Do you know
awesome.
Mick?
Oh, I know Mick.
Oh, there you go.
He's the reason. One of the reasons my YouTube channel is doing so well. So I owe
fantastic.
a lot to that guy.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's
so,
for sure.
So Mick is the guy that works at the click farm that you've hired to just
Exactly. Yeah. He's just got a really fast finger. You know?
Perfect. Yeah, but I'm telling these guys, you guys have a YouTube channel. I actually have it on the screen. That's how advanced I went this time.
Wow.
And your YouTube channel, people should go there because you drop some crazy good knowledge about all manner of music tech.
Right.
But also, they should just go because it's so pretty. It really is. Like
That's awesome.
you have this cool desk, and you've got this massive 4K display that's like it's your main monitor, right?
It's my monitor. Yeah, people ask me about that. It's the #1 question I get on all of my YouTube videos. What's that monitor you're using? And I always have to say it's the Costco 65-inch special. You know, it's like
looks great.
The one you get for really cheap. You know, and it works. It works really well. But I mean, it is hard on the neck, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for everybody. But works great for YouTube videos. That's for sure. So
yeah, it looks fantastic for YouTube videos, and just your whole setup there is great. And I wanted to kind of geek a little bit actually on some of this stuff. Well, first of all, people are seeing, as I'm talking about how gorgeous it is, and it is gorgeous on here. We're actually looking at the reverse view of what people normally see.
Yeah, normally it's the side view.
Yeah, it's probably hard to show. But oh, there you got the lights going up there and stuff. Yeah, it's you got this whole little like perfect workspace in there. But you have, look at all that.
Yeah. I can go like this.
Got some instruments and whatnot. Oh yeah. Okay, we're going traveling.
I'm on Wi-Fi. We can just. Is it still working? The video still working?
No, it's.
Did we lose video?
Well, wait, we're back. We're back. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we got.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't feel like I've fully processed that you have a piano there too.
Yeah, it's actually called a petite baby grand. So it's like the tiniest grand piano you've ever seen.
When baby grand wasn't small enough, they had to come
up with
a minuscule petite baby grand micro.
That's right. You got it. And then we got some.
Oh, the classic Mac. Now, while you're still on, now this is one thing. While you are still on mobile Wi-Fi,
yes,
I saw this thing in your video, and it threw me back to childhood so fast because you have. You want to show people this thing? You have a TV.
It is.
Now, this TV became an iconic television of the space age. Really, I mean, that's really where it came out of in the 70s, and. Yeah.
It's got the chain.
Look at that thing. That it was designed I assume it was designed specifically to look like an astronaut's helmet. This is in the years following the moon landing. Now, here's the thing that blows my mind on that one. That was the TV I had growing up in our living room. That was our TV. So and now I'm not ancient, but I will say this. It was black and white. Until I was 10 years old, we had a black and white.
I can't believe you had it.
Television.
Yeah, that's amazing. And actually, Dr. Mix, who has an incredible YouTube channel, has the orange version of that. And I think he's still got it in his. He just set up a new studio and he's got it in there as well.
It's so good, and it's funny to see. Actually, I realized just now looking at it that the one that you have suffered the same fate that ours did. The reason we stopped using it was because the antenna broke.
Yes.
And which is like the antenna. I mean, even that concept alone for people watching.
I don't think it works anymore. Yeah. Does the antenna even work? Like,
no. Now it's
putting anything out. Yeah.
It's digital, so you'd have to get a converter to even make it work. But anyway, so that's fun thing number one. Now, fun thing number two is almost a bit of a trivia thing. I wanted to see if you could show people.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to grab it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, guys, we're going to put this out. This is a trivia question for people watching. This little robot. Now, first of all, if you're of a certain age, you will know this robot as the thing that was in like the Sears catalog that you couldn't afford, but you wanted.
And everybody
so
wanted
bad.
it for Christmas.
Yes, and there was one kid, and he was usually like the biggest asshole on the playground.
Yeah,
and he got it because he was spoiled. Yeah. So you never got to play with it, but I always wanted it. Now, the key to this though, guys, is that that's not the only connection to it being on the stream. There is a reason connection to that robot. And if anyone can tell me, they will. I don't know what they win. They win the glory of.
That is
It's a tricky one.
Impressed.
Now that we have a 40-second latency, I don't know if people are going to actually figure this out. I didn't figure this out until you told me, and once you told me, I was like, yeah. In fact, actually, I've got. You know what? I can even.
Yeah, pull it up.
I'll pull it up after people have exhausted their
attempts.
Their attempts. Yeah. So we'll see what people come up with. While people are searching for that, I got to ask you, where did you get that? Because as far as I could tell, that was impossible to. I mean, I never even considered as an adult that I could achieve having that.
Honestly, man, like that, that was the toy to covet when we were kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked out. I think it's about $1,000 basically back then.
Back then, that sounds right.
In today's money though, like about $1,000.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
it
like
was
that's what
really pricey.
It was insanely expensive.
The
and all it
G.I.
did
Joe
was
aircraft
like,
carrier was expensive, but it was conceivable.
Yeah.
You could maybe save up and get it. But this, forget about it.
No, and all it did was you could program it on its cassette tape. You could give it instructions to go forward, turn right, turn left, follow a path. You play it back on a cassette tape, and it would go and do those moves, and then you could, bring your dad a beer. That was its big claim to fame. I think that was. It had a tray. I don't have the tray, so.
Now the guesses are coming in, and I think. Push Button says it's Omnibot. That's right. That was its name, right? Omnibot.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And I got it. Oh, the story about how I got it was even better. We were at an antique store up at our family cabin in the summer, and I found like a smaller Omnibot. I can't remember which one it was called. And my brother and I were talking about the Omnibot, and I was like, oh yeah, man, I'd give anything for that thing. And I went online to an auction, and within a half an hour, I found one for sale at our local auction, and I kept bidding on that auction until I got it. It cost me like $250, but I was like, I don't care.
Inflation adjused, that's not too bad.
There you go, exactly.
You won out. Patience won out.
I did, man. I did.
There was a Mowgli in the chat says vocal samples taken from it. Yeah, there may be. I'm sure someone's sampled that thing. That must be. But so now I think I'm going to credit Thai Blue Bear Boy with the first correct guess. He says Audiomatic pick.
Nice.
Yohani says Audiomatic. Who else? Neil Freeman says Retromatic robot, which is also true too. Let me switch over to Reason for a second. I'll just throw it up on screen for people to see what we're talking about. Here's the moment where I panic that I've got something loaded that I shouldn't be showing yet publicly on my screen. Guys, don't look too close at my screen. No, I think I'm okay. Okay, so if I put up Audiomatic here, and we go to, which one is it? It's the robot, right? There's a... I
think it's under toy. If you go to... toy, no. Where is it? Gadget.
There it is. Look at that.
Oh, we can't see it.
No, you can't.
Can they see it?
They see it,
okay.
You don't get to see it. But there it is. What a little exciting machine. I get like, when I see it, I mean, when I saw it in Audiomatic, it like re-triggered my childhood wants and desires. And then now seeing you have it, it's like, like now you're awesome. You're the kid on the playground that had it. You know?
I know.
Well, maybe someday you'll let me come over and play with it then.
That's right. Exactly. We
cool.
will.
Well, so now, Jeff, we should not only talk about robots, we should talk about music on this music making live stream.
Why not?
We should. I think people. I would say a fair number of people watching might know your stuff. We've certainly been publicizing it. I think you make fantastic. I mean, I really mean this. Your YouTube channel, the content you make is a rare combination of somebody who understands how to do music well, and you understand music, and you can understand it well enough to explain it. We'll talk about how that came to be.
Right.
But you also understand how to convey it through the medium of video and YouTube. And those two things are often not the same. People make great videos with terrible music in them, or people make great musical examples but can't show them off and explain them well because it's like it's a different skill set, similar, but it's different. It's hard to do.
Yeah,
but you have them both, and so if people haven't checked out your YouTube channel, they should go there because you explain stuff really well. You often do plug-in and hardware release things where a new version of something will come out and you kind of give people a nice walkthrough. But how did you? Let's dial the timeline back.
Clock back.
Yeah. How did that come to be? And maybe we start on the music end of things. You got started doing music, I presume, early. Like most people did, early, maybe in your teens or something, right?
No, like 6 years old.
Oh, okay.
Started doing piano and actually wanted to do it, and so that's kind of where it started. And piano for a long time, and then probably just like Ryan, because we're almost the same age. I started learning guitar in grade 10.
Yep.
And My son is now going to the same school as the guy who taught me guitar, same science teacher.
Oh.
And yeah, so pretty awesome.
You learned guitar from your science teacher?
I did. How cool is that, right?
That is, I feel like he'd be really scientific about it. Like he'd be trying to explain, like, no, you're vibrating at the wrong frequency.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he can talk that way too, but yeah, it was great. And so he taught me and a couple other of my friends guitar, and it's great. He's been over to the studio just to hang out and talk about it and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so started guitar, and then got into the rock thing for quite a while. And but I guess it was once I had taken a year off school, I was like, I got to do something, and I don't want to go to. I was a bit of a slacker. I didn't want to go to any other type of school, so I practiced my C major scales, and I got into a music school, and yeah, did music degree for way too long because I went to a whole bunch of different schools, and but in the process, I got into a school that had a recording using computers program, and so we did. That's where I sort of cut my teeth. I got my first keyboard and brought it home, and got into Cubase, and I was working with Cubase for a while when it was just MIDI, and because my computers weren't powerful enough to handle the audio, which was brand new at the time.
Sure.
And so then once I was able to do that, I started making more productions that way, and then the virtual instruments started coming out, and at the same time I was always going to these Cubase workshops, and got to know the guy who sort of ran the distribution of basically most of the music software back in the day in Canada. And so he got me hooked up and started getting me to demo some of these things.
Yeah, okay.
And the first thing that I really demoed was Reason, because it was Reason 1 and it had just come out. And Reason 1 was this revolutionary software that let me run actual virtual instruments because my computers were pretty weak at the time, and Reason was just so streamlined. I don't know how they did it, really, because so many other virtual instruments,
Right.
like Absinthe. I had to buy a computer just so I could run Absinthe, and
Right.
and so that's how I got going on the demos thing. So I would go around and I'd show off Reason at the local music stores in Vancouver and stuff, and it was awesome. Everybody's minds were blown. Remember when everything was just new and miraculous? Actually,
Right.
you know what? I still, and so then I started teaching also at a local university.
What is?
Go
ahead.
Yeah. Well, I've been teaching there forever, but I still blow students' minds when I show them how you can quantize or
Right.
fix notes and stuff. Right? It's still exciting stuff.
It is when you're learning that this is the thing. Sort of I have to remind myself, particularly when I'm talking to people about Reason, and I'm talking about version 11, and I'm talking to someone who Reason is new to them. I have to remind myself that it's all new to them. It's not.
It's all new.
It's not just that beat map is new to them. It's like
Exactly.
it's all new to them, and it's the same. Imagine with quantization and stuff like that. It's like it's all mind blowing when you see it for the first time.
Yeah, it is for sure.
But what I like about your story, it reminds me of something. I was watching an interview recently with a folk singer. Arlo Guthrie is the son of Woody Guthrie.
Right.
And he was I was just randomly like the YouTube rabbit hole, kind of just like bouncing through videos. I ended up on this interview with him, and he said something that I didn't realize it had imprinted in my mind until I hear your story, and suddenly it comes fluttering back to the forefront of my mind. He was talking about how he got his career in music going, and what he said was, I made sure that I wasn't good at anything else, because if I was good at anything else, the minute it was a struggle with music, I would have given up and gone to do that other thing. If I became a a finance guy, like I would have gone into finance.
Totally.
And so all I had to do was I decided around age 19 that I would only be good at music because I'm good at it, and I'll just stay at that, And it's sort of, as you're talking about coming out of school, you kind of took a gap year effectively. And then it was, you may not have had that exact series of thoughts and articulated it to yourself that way, but it sounds like you did end up doing that same concept of I I'm going to double down on this
Yes.
and make it happen. And you did.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did too. When I was in university, I finally learned how to work, and I worked really hard, and really took things like ear training and music theory seriously.
Right.
And kind of took it, and now I always tell students, it's like, kind of treat it as if your life depends on it, because if you want to be a musician, your work life depends on it. So, and that was kind of how I treated it. And as opposed to most students, get into music theory, and it's just like it's a slog to get through it, and so I really took that stuff seriously. And practice a lot. And
that is the stuff I wish I had spent more time on. I mean, my two great regrets is that I skipped. I mean, they're not too late. I say that like I can't just now sort it out.
It's over. Yeah.
I give up. But my two current regrets that I am trying to correct actually is my music theory isn't as strong as I wish it were. I think that's true. No matter how much you know, you always wish you knew a little more.
Of course.
So I have some foundation in it, but I always, like when I talk to my brother who's a composer, I sort of start just nodding and okay,
glazing over.
Yeah. But the other thing is piano. That you started on piano, and I wish I started on guitar. I'm glad I play guitar, but I do wish that I had that fundamental piano thing, because I'm just not, I'm just not strong on piano. I can play a melody and that's all fine, but it doesn't make sense when I look at a fretboard on a guitar. It makes sense when I look at a piano.
Interesting.
It doesn't, which is weird because it's almost more logical on a piano. I mean, it's a lot more logical actually.
Well, sort of, but there's patterns on guitar, right?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, but so when you were, I want to get to you. So you got exposed to Reason.
Yes.
And you said you became the demo guy. Right? You were doing in-store demos was it for Reason and other things too, Cubase and all that?
Yeah, exactly. It was for a company that distributed like Steinberg stuff, Reason, and Native Instruments stuff. So all of their first virtual instruments, and just go around, and that was when that was all brand new, and like that just blew people's minds, right? I didn't have any hardware synths at the time. Like the only thing I had was my little Alesis controller, or my big Alesis controller. And so I never grew up on hardware. So the hardware thing is kind of new for me too, because I got into it right at that moment where, Reason started, and I didn't need to save up and buy, synthesizer racks or anything like that.
I can imagine. I mean, I was coming in, like you said, we're about the same age, but I came in through hardware, not hardware synths, but I came in through sort of recording studio apprenticeships and stuff. I was the 13-year-old kid that was like loitering at the music store just to geek out on all the gear. And
so you would have got more into that then, for sure, at that age.
Yes, If I had, for me, my move into computer-based music was just, it's the thing I could afford. I couldn't afford a hardware sampler, but I could afford I think in 1999 I probably bought the first version of the ESX24 sampler in Logic. That was, at that time, it was a separate buy. You had to go to the store and buy a box that was just the ESX24, which I bought in Stockholm, actually. My first visit to Stockholm before I knew the Reason Studios guys. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so but I was still sort of looking for that. But for you were stepping in right at the software junction, and that's got to be just perfect timing for
It was perfect timing. Yeah, and it meant that I could take things a lot farther at that point. Like I was telling you earlier that like Reason was the way that I was able to do anything at the time. I started doing some little soundtracks and started producing local musicians. After I finished university, I went and did a year of studio training.
Okay.
And learned kind of old school techniques from this great guy who started up a recording school in Vancouver called Nimbus Recording School.
Okay.
And I don't think he's with them anymore, but he was basically our teacher. But it was almost one-on-one. It was three students at a time. So it was a really neat program. Learned all the old school techniques of recording, and we tried recording on tape, but we weren't really using that at the time.
Right.
It was already switching over to Pro Tools and stuff like that. And so yeah, really, where was I going with that? Yeah, I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. But
yeah.
You mentioned there that you were sort of during this time pivoting into the actual music production, working with other people doing music production.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, after doing that, it was like, what am I going to do? I'm done school. I gotta work. I gotta make some money, and so I started teaching music lessons. And I mean, I should go back even before the music thing and say that both my parents were teachers, elementary school teachers. So I grew up as a teacher's kid, and didn't want to be a teacher, but I ended up becoming a teacher. And but it's just like
the rebellion of like just do the
totally
opposite. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But my parents are amazing teachers, and so I learned a lot from them. And then I started teaching music lessons.
But
So I mean, I started teaching swimming lessons. That's where I cut my teeth as a teacher. So 10 years of teaching little kids how to swim, right?
Jeez.
And so there's a lot of kids in my area who remember me.
But
as
in one of those funny
lifeguard.
ways, you can always connect the dots going backwards, and kind of see what thing led to another. And
Exactly.
in a funny way that you probably couldn't have imagined when you were teaching swimming or when you were early on teaching music lessons.
Yeah.
The skill of learning there's two things. The skill of learning to teach something makes you learn it really well, but it also there's like this empathy muscle that you exercise in helping to understand where are people lacking, where are the knowledge gaps, and how can I fit in and help fill them?
Exactly.
It's a special skill set that good teachers have. Bad teachers never learn it.
Right.
But good teachers, they develop it.
Yep. Exactly. And so I started developing that early on. Like 14, I was already teaching in some capacity at the pool, and then. And then started teaching music lessons and had a ton of students at for the first little while when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, and that was amazing. That was a great way. And always something I encourage music students who are like, what am I supposed to do now? There's only so many music teacher jobs, and so what can you do? Well, teaching music lessons is an incredible way to make money. It's also because I got paid extremely well back then, and you don't need a ton of students to survive, but then you can do all the other stuff, and then it also opens doors. So you start getting these students who have a cousin who wants to record a song or something like that. And so then they come over, and I produce this background track for them, and they'd sing it and show all their friends on their CD or MySpace. Remember that? And,
Totally.
So that's how it all kind of started for me, and did a lot of that local production stuff. And then, then I got into... Yeah,
you started doing, so I imagine that's where some of the work led, because I know you've done some music to picture type of work, video, music bed type work.
Exactly. So then another point, a friend of mine was like assistant camera operator on a local film, because they film a lot of stuff in Vancouver, and so I got the script and made some background tracks or some soundtrack pieces for a chunk of the script, which I spoke out and got my wife to speak out as well, the parts, so that there was voices, and then made the music, and then brought it to where they're filming, and got the lead actress in to listen to it, and then she went and got the director to come and listen, and then he was like, all right, and then gave me a test, and then that was it. So ended up getting my first soundtrack on a small budget film, and kind of
you're
did
in a good city for that type of stuff.
Exactly.
Too,
hey, yeah, that's for sure. So that was a really neat way to get into the film stuff, and then also got me into sound design, which is another aspect of all of this music production, things that you can do to make money and to survive. Well, it's like you don't have to. You can sort of branch out. I've never made albums for myself. I don't have a huge library of stuff out there that people can go listen to.
Right.
But I've been making music for my whole adult life, and that led on to the biggest chunk of my career so far has been doing music for a Japanese ESL program, so doing children's music.
ESL meaning English as a second language, is that?
Yeah. Okay. So as a company in Japan, it started as a smaller project and then it ballooned into this massive project. And so it was about 10 years of making children's music, 8 hours a day. Yeah. So
That
I have
sounds
little
like
kids, and we don't listen to children's music in our house ever. Like,
you know,
I've
I
never
have to
allowed
say
it.
I credit my parents. I thank them for like I did have some kids records when I was growing up. You know, Camp Down Races, sing this song, like that kind of stuff. But I grew up on a lot more Tom Petty and you know that kind of stuff.
Same here.
Beatles, all that, rather than kids music. And I remember my sister. She's 12 years younger than me. And so she grew up, I always used to say my sister was raised by different parents, but they're the same people, you know, it's like.
Exactly. It's so true.
When she was being raised, she was just getting that steady diet of like Raffi and kids music.
Yes.
And I remember when she was like, I guess she would have been 5 years old, Alanis Morissette's album came out. And I was like, hey, you got to check this out. This is cool. And I was thinking like, I'm going to be the like, whatever I would have been then, 16, 17-year-old, like cooler brother, kind of hipping her to this new record. And instead she was just like hated it. And I was like, my parents ruined her. She lost, like she has no joy for modern music. She just wanted the like, you know, the kids music and
the kids stuff.
Yeah. But that's
failed. Oh well.
that's all right. But that's the world you've been living in, I guess. You've been making that the sort of xylophone based
exactly.
sort of happy soundtrack.
Marimba, a lot of marimba, that's for sure.
You heard it here first, guys. Marimba is your key to success in the kids music. Get that kids music dollar.
Yeah, kalimba, marimba, glockenspiel.
Okay. But I think, did you have an example? Maybe we could show people kind of.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
One of those things that you do. I think it might be fun for people to kind of.
Do you want me to share or?
Yeah, go ahead and share. Share your screen and we'll pop it up.
All right, you guys ready for this? This is Line Man.
Word Warehouse. Ooh, B-oo-t. Boot.
Yep. I'll skip ahead here a little bit.
I was just learning something.
I know!
The cool kangaroo cooks good noodles in his boot. The cool kangaroo cooks good noodles in his boot.
There you go.
Now I got to say that. So first of all, there's I guess there's a lot we could unpack on that. We may well go through it in minute detail. But the thing about that stuff is there's a lot going on there to make that timing wise and to just those little musical stings to make that all kind of work and just marry with the visual is quite a it's actually quite a talent to be able to do. Yeah,
it is a process for sure.
And the other thing I realize now watching it on the stream is when it goes into the cool kangaroo cooks. What was it? The cool kangaroo cooks good noodles in his boot.
Yeah, in his boot. Yeah.
Of course.
Everybody
knows that kind of stuff. But when it goes to that section, you go to that more. It's like I don't know. It's kind of got more of an actual song vibe to it.
Yeah.
I'm realizing that you are totally you're a child of the Sesame Street. Whatever was happening in the children's television workshop back in sort of the area that we were growing up. They had these like super cool musicians doing super cool.
So good.
They're so good. There was that one song, the 12 song.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah,
12. 12. Yeah, that song was so good.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of them like that. So I listening to your thing. There was like a little line. I don't know what it was, some kind of melody or lead line. I was like, I think Jeff's heard the 12 song a few times.
A few times. Yeah, that's for sure.
Oh man,
just striving to get back to that level. That's
totally,
for sure.
totally.
Yeah, and you're right. The sound design. And the Mickey Mousing with the music and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
And so you're doing sort of it's like kind of a musical sound design too, right? Like those two circles bump into each other, and there's a little like more of a blink, That's That's all.
And that's totally unmixed. That was what I send off to my mixing guy, but yeah, it's just so I do the sound effects and I do music, and then I'll just do. Often do a bit of both and then let them choose.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
it's great. It's very Tom and Jerry esque, and the sort of
man, that old stuff like Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes. If you watch the cartoons and just listen to the music in them, it's just
they're amazing.
So complex, just blows my mind.
They're
I don't know
amazing.
how they lined it up in the like 40s and 50s or whatever.
That's what's even crazier is that they would do it on a scoring stage. They'd have a union orchestra that was on a clock, and after 3 hours they were done, or you were paying overtime out the kazoo.
I know.
And they just watch the screen, and they would just cue off the right. I mean, that's
all the
really amazing.
And and the mixes were always so good too. That's what blows my mind. Just like, how do you find information on how they mic'd up stuff like that back in the day?
Right.
People are all gone by now, right?
Yeah, so, I don't know what they were doing. They probably were. I don't know if they were doing decatries yet or not, but that'd be the modern thing. You put up a three-way, overhead and spot mic and stuff. Yeah, I don't know, but it is that. I mean, that is that era when it was impossible to fix it in the mix. That wasn't a thing. Yeah. So you had to get it right the first time, and so they just really got it right.
Timing is just impeccable.
Totally.
Yeah.
But so the thing I wanted to ask you about for when you're doing this type of music, or this type of music job, I should say. I think one of the big things that strikes me about it is like, okay, so people watching may not be about to launch their career into making kids music. You probably hope so because now they're competition.
I'm not doing it anymore, so go right ahead.
Go, it's free. Go for it, guys. It's a growth industry. There's opportunities.
That's right.
But let's assume that most people aren't actually headed in that direction. But what I think we can all take from this and doing any kind of work the way you did, where it's a repeated work like this, is that you are being forced to be creative on a timeline that is not yours.
Exactly.
And
that's the best way to be.
You think so?
It really is. I think it is. I mean, it's been that way for me pretty much my whole life. I can remember our first concert for our amazing alternative rock band. We spent all summer working on all these tunes and, lots of drop D and stuff like that. But, it was, I think our concert was September, whatever, 5th. And by the end of August, we had all these songs with no lyrics. And I'm not very good at writing lyrics, but somehow I managed, because I had like 3 days left till the concert, to write all of these lyrics. And I wrote like 10 songs worth of lyrics in 3 days. And it was just because I had to, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with all of this kind of stuff. I had to do the concert with a music stand with all of my, napkins and lyrics on it, but that's beside the point.
Sure.
But it's like with any of this kind of stuff, I think you and I were talking about this too, just how if you have to make a video for something, you make music. And then, but if you're like, I should just make some music for myself, and then
never do it.
It's
I'm
so
not never
hard
do it, but it's hard.
Yeah, it's just harder. Yeah.
You sort of need, and it's a thing I think about. I think about it in my own life. It's like, how can I impose artificial deadlines?
Exactly.
How can I put pressure on myself?
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that yet. But like, maybe it's a matter of like, telling someone, hey, in 4 days, I'm going to be showing you a new song idea.
Exactly.
And then we're like, okay, and then you've got the accountability, of.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's
so true.
There's nothing like the real, the
real deadline.
The real deadline, where it's like someone's paying me money and I got to deliver, or they will not pay me money, and then
exactly.
Yeah, things go wrong.
Yeah, and it does work, and I think that's like switching over to YouTube. I started this about two and a half years ago, and I should have. It would have been nice if I had started earlier, but but it's been such a fun kind of journey for me. And part of it is, I'm trying to keep up a weekly video release or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, so if I have some piece of software I want to show off next week, I got to come up with something to show it off, right?
Yeah.
And so I've come up with more music that way in the last 2 years than I have for a long time for myself. And that's the greatest part about this, is that it is still mostly for myself. It's like, obviously I want it to be something that's kind of fun or cool or whatever, but it's like, at the end of the day, nobody's, the haters are going to hate, but it's like, I'm just making stuff for myself. And a lot of times if there's a piece of software or something that doesn't work for me, I just don't do a video on it, but
No,
it's like,
right.
most of the stuff that I'm showing off is stuff that I'm genuinely interested in, and I would love to have if I, wasn't given to it by the company or whatever. And forcing me to create.
When you are in that zone of sort of working to a brief, I guess one might say, or working to a spec that somebody gave you, how is it for you with sort of genre hopping? I imagine you have to do a little bit of that, right? That's different than like someone watching who's just an artist watching the live stream right now, and maybe they make drum and bass, and that's just what they do.
Yeah, right.
That's different than what you do, and things that happen for me when I'm doing a music bed, where it's like, oh, this one I should do something that's kind of, trip hop vibe, and this one I should do something that's got a rock vibe, and this one's got to be, techno or whatever.
Yeah, I think that started too when I started producing people, as a young producer, where somebody would come in and they want to do a country song, and it's like, well, I don't really dig country or do country, but all right, let's do it. And then giddy up, you just start trying something out, and it was around that time, I guess, where I really did start to find myself like just appreciating all genres of music and not getting hung up on any genres of music. I feel like it was something that was bigger back in our day when
Listen, we've already been Stefan's already called us out for being nostalgic about the 1930s. So
yeah, sorry, Stefan.
But no.
But yeah, it's just like just appreciating all genres of music and trying to take as much good out of all genres of music. And then when it came to doing this children's music thing, it was like we had every genre of music in those hundreds of songs that we put out for that. It was like every single genre. And I played alternative rock stuff when I was younger, so I learned all that on guitar and bass, and then I got into funk stuff, and and it's just like my tastes have varied, and for the last few years it's been all jazz for me. So I've just been practicing jazz finally, and that's back to where you said about piano, and I think a lot of people who watch my channel are in their anywhere from their 20s to their 50s kind of thing, and there's so many people, even like university students who are 21 or 22, and they're like, yeah, well, I never did learn piano, but it's pretty much too late now, and I'm just like, where did that concept come from? Like this idea that I think that's maybe part of our society or something like that makes us feel like if we weren't, something by a certain age, there's kind of no point, right? And so I've really taught myself jazz piano over the last 6 years, probably 6 or 7 years, and I'm not awesome at it, but I can play, and I'm getting better, and I set up a practice routine for myself, and I'm definitely not like some role model for this, but every day I have to touch a few of my instruments. So I have specific ones that I have to play on. Piano and trumpet are kind of the main ones, and just trying to get trumpet up to speed, and but then piano, and definitely practicing piano for a chunk every single day. So
right.
Sometimes I crawl into bed and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to practice piano. I'll get up at 1 o'clock and I'll go play for 5 minutes and then go to bed.
You're like the
literally
people,
5 minutes.
People that have the Fitbit watch where they're like
yes,
the 200
totally.
steps short, and they're like, okay, I'm getting out of bed. Walk around my bedroom until I
exactly. Yep.
Well,
that's.
I wonder. Speaking of sort of jazzy things, I wonder maybe we should pop open a tune and kind of.
Let's look at.
Kind of just take a look.
Some music.
The one of the things that comes with your territory is that you are not you can't be DAW loyal or
Right.
even brand loyal or anything like that. You use what needs to be used in a given time, or what is, if you're working on, well, to take an example, if you're working on a Maschine related video, you're using Maschine, and if you're working on a Reason video about something Reason, you're in Reason and Cubase or whatever. You hop around.
Exactly.
But I imagine that also, in doing that, you've had an insight into maybe the way the creative mind will approach different platforms differently.
Totally. Yes. Yep.
And
that's a huge thing.
So
yeah, go ahead. Good.
So maybe I thought maybe we could check out a couple of things you've done in a couple different environments.
Sure.
The constant being Reason, the Reason rack plugin now it has created a situation where Reason standalone or with the Reason rack plugin, Reason can go with you through all those different environments.
Yeah.
It's not
exactly.
You don't leave it behind when you want to go to or have to go to Maschine or Cubase or wherever. So
exactly.
let's pop open. Maybe we start in Reason.
Yep. I'll show you this tune I got up here. And for me, coming back to Reason was, I'd always upgrade the versions, as they came along. But over the course of working on all the children's music, we were working just in Nuendo, so basically Cubase.
Yeah.
And so for a long time I didn't touch Reason, and so for this little video here, I made a video on YouTube there about me trying a song out in
This
Reason.
is your return to Reason?
My return to Reason, that's right. And just tried, and I sent off a little piano or Rhodes idea off to my friend, and then she sang some vocals. And incidentally, this is going to really date me, but I got to share it because it's fun. Because her name's Toby, and she's just this amazing jazz musician. She's now getting her master's at U of T, and or in Texas. And so the two of us made all of these Reason backing tracks for her to go show off, because she's this amazing keyboardist. So we made all the tracks in Reason, these jazzy kind of jazz tunes, jazz standards with beats, and then we took all of those on this small device that we were showing off at a fancy furniture store in Vancouver. And this small device was capable of holding like 5,000 of your favorite songs. A little white thing called an iPod. And
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I think those are going to be big. Keep your eye on those iPods.
I should have probably got some stock back then. You imagine I'd be sitting in a lot bigger studio right now. So that's beside the point. All right, let's check out the tune.
Oh yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
So I sent her some keys, and then she sent me some vocals, and then I just messed around with that. And I'm going to get her to redo her vocals. I ended up buying her a little reflection filter thing so she can get a quieter sound in her apartment there, but it's a little echoey, but it still sounds great. And then I've got some harmonies that I made just by using the pitch shifting in Reason. So.
I know I was the one who didn't want to stay. I took myself and walked away. You didn't stop me anyway. The troubles we've been having really got me down. There wasn't any middle ground. You're giving me the runaround. But baby, listen, I don't want to lose you. Since leaving, I've been so blue. Please take me back. The bubbles we were having are in the past. There is a pleasant forecast. If you take me back. You didn't want to.
So that
Really
goes on
nice,
like that,
really
but, yeah.
lush. Some of the layers going on in there are really nice. I'm curious. Now that you've called attention to it, so now I want to actually hear. Can you solo her vocal?
Yeah.
You're saying it's a little echoey. It sounded nice to me, but
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Didn't want to listen to my point of view.
I mean, I've got reverb on there.
Yeah,
of
you've got
course,
reverb
but-
on there
didn't
too,
know
right?
what
Yeah.
else to do. I thought for sure that we were through.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I just heard that as like a room reverb.
Right. Yeah.
But
It is
so-
a room reverb, but yeah.
But so you in your Reason journey, you were I mean, you weren't just a Reason user. You were the Reason demo guy in the early era of Reason.
Yeah.
And then upon your return to Reason had changed quite a bit. It was, I mean, audio alone.
Yes,
was the
exactly.
thing. So I guess that's kind
Yeah.
of where you dove in to the I guess what were new features for you.
Yes, like trying to do some of the sort of Melodyne-like pitch shifting and stuff that we can do in here now, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
It
I was gonna
works
say, how
really well.
did you find that?
I loved it. It was, and I do feel like there's some. It's funny because like it depends on the material, but it did seem like it handles pitch shifting and time stretching really well, and I love how you can just change the tempo of your project and all of your audio just changes as well.
Yeah.
Whereas other programs wouldn't let you do that. You'd have to. change
Talk
the
about like
tempo.
we were saying, sort of blowing minds and stuff. That's still a thing that Reason Standalone's time stretch. It's like I don't know what voodoo's going on that
It's
makes it
really
as good as it is.
Yeah.
But it's really
I
good.
know.
And when I've
I
done
know.
live demos, I did a thing. I don't often do them, but I did something at SAE. It's a SAE Institute.
That's cool. Yeah,
in
yeah,
it was
yeah.
in Stockholm, and
Yeah.
so I had to go do a little presentation for those guys, and I'm showing all the stuff that's in Reason, and to a large degree, you're looking at synths and the people okay, that makes sense. I've seen synth plugins before, and you're looking at the mixer
Right.
and the sequencer. There's these things that everybody goes, yep, okay, oh, that's how it works in Reason. Okay, I've used that in whatever I've used before. Then you do the time stretch, and that was the one where everybody just went like,
know.
what? Because you go
What?
take a song that's at like 80 BPM and you speed it up to 160 BPM and it sounds
Yeah.
natural, or you go the other way. You take a
Yeah,
song
yeah.
that's 160 and you take it down to 50 and it sounds
Exactly.
natural, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I was
And
really impressed with
what
that.
what is kind of cool about that, what you hit upon here, is that the pitch mode that is in Reason Standalone, when you're going in and you're messing with to repitching that's based on the time stretch algorithm. That's what makes
Exactly.
the pitch, the repitching and stretching that has to happen when you do that is the same stuff. So you get that same
Exactly.
quality, which is
Yeah.
And
obviously with my harmonies, it made it sound artificial, but I like that on purpose. But as far as pitch correcting her voice, it was great.
And you said- so you-
very transparent.
you said that you did some harmony things using what pitch correction as your
Just using like this pitch correction right here.
Acted like you didn't want to be with me. Kept secrets and you hid from me. I guess you wanted to.
Soft sand spot right here.
The troubles we've been having really got me down. There wasn't any middle ground.
Kind of weird chords, but makes for
that's just this is what I was thinking of when you mentioned the jazz stuff.
Yeah.
It definitely makes for cool harmonies. Can you pop open if you let's see so that's the harmony part.
That's one of them. Yeah.
Is it possible to solo that for a second just to hear the
Yeah. So here, I think it's this
The
one.
troubles we've been having really got me down. There wasn't any middle ground.
Gotcha.
Make sure I'm looking at the right one. Yeah.
And
And then this. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong one. Hang on. There we go.
The troubles we've been having really
okay.
got me down.
So I could take these guys.
The troubles we've been having really got me down.
Or now it's just gonna be wrong. But
The troubles we've been having really got me down.
but if you solo just the one on top, so you got two solo right now, but just solo the top channel for a second.
I think
And
it's
if you
this one
select
here.
Troubles we've been having really got me down.
can you select all those regions, lasso them all, and then hit the reset button, so it'll go back to its original
Yep.
pitch.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
The troubles we've been having really got me down.
Now that one sounds artificial to me because I've
no kidding.
acclimated.
Yeah. Not funny. The formant or the harmonics. Yeah.
Undo it back to the where you pitched it to.
There we go.
There we go.
The troubles we've been having really got me down.
Yeah. You know, that's such a. I mean, I'm having you kind of walk through and show it kind of slowly as a tip for people. A lot of times, particularly if you're collaborating with an artist and they send you a vocal, if they are not, I've noticed with artists, vocalists, that some of them have been around for a while. They start to learn after a while, like, okay, I'm going to give you the vocal, I'm going to give you the harmony, I'm going to give you the other harmony, I'm going to give you the ad libs. Like they give you all this stuff. But if they're newer to the process, they might just send you a lead vocal and be like, here it is, done, and it's up to you to kind of make more out of that. Yeah. And so
I actually like that. Yeah, I like it when they do that because then you can go, like before what I used to do with, humans in the studio back when we were allowed to do that. I would play the piano part for a background harmony, right? So we get the main vocals done, and then it's like, okay, now we need to do harmonies. But a lot of people, even really good singers, not Toby by any stretch, but a lot of people, even good singers, have a hard time getting that melody out of their head and getting onto the harmony. And so I'd be like pounding it out on the piano while they're singing, trying to get a little higher, come on, and so once this kind of pitch correction technology came out, I was able to make the harmonies out of their main vocal and then not use that as the harmony, but just use that as the guide for them.
Oh.
So now they're singing along to themselves, as with that melody part or that harmony part that I've just created, and especially when it's a complex harmony, where that people might not,
that's a great
naturally
tip.
Go to.
So you artificially make the harmony for the purposes of naturally making the harmony, but you're feeding, you're literally feeding that artificial version in the headphones to the vocalist.
Yeah, exactly. And for all the singers who have a hard time with harmonies now, it's like they just need to learn that new line,
right?
And then
which reminds me of a songwriting friend of mine that says, when trying to teach people, he tries to teach people harmony. And it's such a mystery, harmony for people, until it isn't. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like totally mystical until it clicks. But what he says to people, I've heard him say a lot, is that a harmony is nothing more than just a different melody within the scale.
Yeah, you can learn that harmony as a melody in your head if you want to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think, and I always tell people too, for that, it's like join choir if you want to learn how to harmonize.
That's right.
Find a choir and join a choir because, man.
That's right.
Yeah, you gotta
little
learn
known trivia fact, I was the president of my high school choir.
No way.
Yeah, but I was sort of like a George W. Bush and George H.W. Bush thing. Like I think technically I came in I rode the coattails of my brother. He was the president before me, the year before me.
Right.
And then I came in and it was almost like an incumbent getting reelected.
Just a
yeah, totally. I was just like, I was trading on the Kennedy name kind of thing. It was like, I'm a Kennedy,
Let me in. That's right.
But, well, cool. But so but that was sort of a fun thing for you to kind of dig into when you were digging into Reason standalone again. And the other stuff that's going on, in terms of this song, it's a lot of pretty standard. It's well executed, but it's, instruments and plugins and kind of the usual thing. Another thing that caught my attention though is you're doing a thing, I've seen other people do this. You're using blocks as a workflow feature that is actually kind of a, I don't know, maybe it's a nice little tip for people. Yeah, as a marker system.
Yeah.
So you've marked out your song. If you were to go into any one of those blocks, there's nothing.
There's nothing in them.
Nothing in them.
Just empty. Yeah.
There you go. And so you're just using the label of the block and then this translucent overlay effect that they have.
Yeah.
In order to
just defining the sections of the song. Yeah.
That's a handy one for people. There may be people out there watching that work. Let's say you're working in a more traditional, like producer and assistant type of relationship. That's not uncommon that you'll be kind of the, it's back, 10 years ago, there's probably still a job of like the Pro Tools engineer. And so the producer would just sit like, I don't mess with the computer, but you do, and you do my stuff. that still somewhat exists. And if anyone's doing that type of work, trying to get their foot in the door with people, that can be a super handy thing for yourself. It's like you come into this new song, mark it out, put in the blocks and mark out the stuff. So when they say, let's go to the second verse, you know exactly where, you don't have to go, is that bar 67?
Yeah.
You know, right.
Especially if it's a song that's got 3 chords and that's all you've got so far is the guitar part with 3 chords going all the way through. You have no idea where the sections are and stuff like that. So,
right. Yeah. Totally. Stefan has put a trademark, the block trick. Yeah, it's
that's right.
Yeah, it's a good one. Pike Bishop says he does the same kind of like an arranger track in Studio One, I guess is his abbreviation. Yeah. It's a handy little workflow thing for sure.
Yeah, I gotta dig into blocks though because it looks very similar to patterns on Maschine, which is really cool. Like
right.
It's like a
well,
really,
should we maybe
really
maybe you've set us up. Maybe we should actually switch gears here and talk a little bit about Maschine and stuff as well. So you do work with do you do work directly with native instruments or do you just make content for your channel?
That's right. I just make content for the channel. They don't pay me to do anything, but they send me software, and then I also get affiliate links.
Gotcha. And so you've sort of it's been probably some of the successful content on your channel is the Maschine stuff.
Yes. Yep.
And I
think go ahead. Well,
so I think I'm a little behind the curve. I will be the first to admit in Maschine that I've always thought of Maschine as like incorrectly to some degree as standalone hardware and not fully realizing the amount of software integration that's going on there. And you work within effectively, can we call it a DAW, the Maschine DAW? Is that?
Yes. Yeah. It's an interesting one because it wasn't really. It started out more as like an MPC style thing and all about sampling and stuff like that. And I didn't even really understand it when I first got it. I was like, what am I doing with this thing? And I also wasn't a hardware guy, as I said before.
Yeah, right.
I had a few control surfaces with moving faders and stuff, and I never used them. And I was thinking, I probably won't touch the hardware much, but there's just something really neat to the hardware aspect of it, as far as like tactile control and muscle memory, and so exactly like you said before, one of the things about Maschine for me is just like it taps into a different part of my brain. You know? And I think I even said this on that Reason video, working with Reason. It's the same thing. It's like I love the fact that I can go, and I've done this many times where I start a song in one program and then I go to a different one because it's just not happening, and I can't, and you can't quite put a finger on what it is because they all do the same stuff. You can do the same, you can skin the cat the same way and all sorts of different, are we allowed to say that anymore? But in all sorts of different in different softwares programs, right?
They're all approaching the same goal and problem, solving the same problems.
Yes. But, exactly. Yeah. But doing it in different ways, and they've all got their own strengths, and that's kind of where my channel goes. It's just kind of like I'm not, and early on in the YouTube channel thing for me, I'd always see people listen to the podcast, and they're like, make sure you don't go too general. Specify.
Right.
Like, and that just wasn't my thing, and it still isn't. And I think people appreciate that. Like I still get people, mad if I haven't done this program video for a while or whatever. But,
but I think that it's true that the musicians out there, we as a group are, we're not, I don't want to say we're not loyal, but we will use whatever it takes to get the music made. And that's true. I mean, if I'm looking around my room right now, I'm surrounded by guitars. It's like I don't have a guitar. I have multiple guitars. Why? Exactly. They all have 6 strings. They all tune to the same notes, but they make me play differently. And there's times I'll pick up one when I'm trying to do I have a certain goal in mind. There's a time I'll pick up another. There's the broad generalities of electric and acoustic guitars, but even just between one acoustic and another, they just make you make music differently. And, at the risk of sounding like sales pitch guy, and I don't mean to sound this way, So I'll say it up front just to kind of put it out there. But this is the thing that, as a musician, just genuinely as a musician, the thing that excited me when I found out that we were going to be doing the Reason Rack plugin was that we were kind of ending. It was like an armistice of this DAW war mentality of telling musicians, if you want to make music and use our feature set and our instruments and our sounds, you gotta leave what you use and come to us. And and that doesn't work for musicians. And so when I saw that we were sort of acknowledging the reality that I experience as a musician and saying instead, take our sounds with you. If you're feeling more creative in Maschine today and tomorrow you're going to feel more creative, or you need to, maybe it's something like you need to, like with your work, you need to cut something to picture and you want to work in Cubase so you can sync a video file.
Totally.
Take Reason with you there, So it's so much more holistic to the musician mindset.
It is, and I know people will have been frustrated by that, because it's like branching out. But it's like now somebody who uses Maschine can buy Reason, use all the instruments in the Reason rack, and then go do mastering in Reason.
Right.
You can't really do that. You can't do that effectively in Maschine. You could do it. I mean, of course you could do it. You could do, like I said, you can kind of do everything in all of the programs, but there's things that are meant for that in Reason.
Right.
And so somebody buys that and it's like, no, they're not just going to necessarily use the rack. There's
a guy I know, he's a longtime major engineer, worked at some of the big studios in London and LA. And I remember him telling me that this is going back a number of years, but he said he does his recording sessions in Pro Tools and then he mixes them in Reason because he wants the modeled mixer that is just so natural to the large format consoles that he was using. There is, it's like use what works. Whatever gets the job done is like such a thing. Stefan posted a comment in the chat. He said, oh wait, no, that's not the one. He said, did we end the DAW wars? Stefan, I think we did.
That's awesome.
It's like, the big...
Can't we all just get along?
Yeah, exactly.
What was that from?
The one I think of is the old John Lennon, Yoko Ono billboard campaign, war is over if you want it. It's like DAW wars are over if you want it.
That's right. I love that.
That's right.
That'll be my platform from now on.
Totally.
Yeah,
but we should, but in terms of the stuff that you do when you do use Reason inside of Maschine, Maschine is its own music making platform, and so for you it becomes a matter of just getting access to the instruments inside of Maschine, right?
That's exactly
maybe just take a peek at one of those tunes and then
sure, I'll just show you a little bit of this and then there we go. So this is maybe Stefan can look it up. It's a girl named Olivia Akolo, Akolo, and she's on YouTube, so you can share her YouTube channel.
Oh, cool! She's Stefan, could you?
Young singer, and sent me a vocal idea, and then I put the music to it. And so it's not finished either. It's another work in progress, and this one is all just done inside Maschine. Sort of a similar challenge, because like recording vocals has been really hard in Maschine up till now, but they've added new functionality that makes it a little bit easier. So anyways, here's a little bit of it.
Slowing down, taking time to figure myself out, not knowing how, when the sun will come up, so I'll shout from the mountaintop. Doing the best I can with what's been handed to me. Not like I have a choice or a say. I could write a song that will possibly save me, but time it takes to get up and start over again, because it's looking impossible lately. Don't see the end, but somehow I know where to begin, but where I'm going to, Lord knows. Lord knows, only just found a stop, but where I'm going to, Lord knows, where
to her.
I
You
know.
can listen to that voice all day. That is amazing. You know, so Stefan, quick on the draw there. Olivia Colo, he's got the YouTube URL in the chat. I put it up on screen. Not like anyone's actually going to type UCE3GXXBC.
Yes.
But anyway, it's up on the screen.
Good.
Look for it in the chat, guys.
And she's
that's
got a cover of a Yeba song, and it's just, man, you watch that, like she gets to this point, and you're like, oh, whoa, she hit that note, and then like 20 seconds later, she goes beyond that, and I'm just like, what is happening?
Right.
And she's singing it in her pajamas, so it's even more awesome. But
jeez, but it's such a good
Extreme
vibe
talent.
on this track. Really extreme. So the genesis of the song, did you write music and then she top-lined it, or did she have?
No, she sent me her vocals as stems, and but they weren't stems. But she sent me her vocals, and then she had a music idea that she was singing to, and then I asked her if it was okay if I changed that. So I changed up basically changed up the rhythm of it and the chords, and then
So
used some of her
reharmonizing
chords.
it.
Yeah, sort of reharmonized it for sure, and but then still used some of her chords.
There's something I absolutely love in the chords. I wonder if can we give you credit with it? In the second section, what is it called? The pre-chorus, I guess. Play the pre-chorus from that bar 11.
Possibly save me.
Oh, it's glitching on me there, but
Possibly save me. The time it takes to get up and start over again, because it's looking impossible late.
The chord that you go to on Again, like, I just love it. There's something about, I don't know, from a music theory perspective, for maybe any of our music theory geeks, is there anything special about that, or am I just getting excited
really.
for like
No.
a 5 chord?
yeah. Well, it's kind of like, oh, why is it? It sounds flat on me all of a sudden. So it starts out we're in A minor. So it starts out on the 4 chord, the D minor.
Yeah.
Goes to the F, and then which is the 6th chord in a minor key. And then we're on the 1 chord, and then we're on the 7 chord.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And that's actually Olivia's progression. I have to give her that one.
Oh, it's nice. It's really nice. There's a question. Patrick Conway says, "Have you made a tutorial on how you do vocals in Maschine? Because you mentioned that was difficult."
I did. Yeah. So I've got a video on editing vocals on Maschine. It's a couple, probably 5 videos ago or so.
Okay. There you go, Patrick. Head over to
And it's with
Jeff's
the song.
YouTube channel, and it's using the song.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So continuity there. But so now, while you've been plunking around on these chords, I guess maybe it's worth us pointing out. So we're hearing Reason. That Rhodes piano is coming from Reason. Is that true?
Radical keys.
Gotcha.
Really nice one. And then we've got, and this bass synth is also Reason. This one, just Europa. Beautiful.
Gotcha.
Patch.
Slowing down, taking time to figure myself out. Slowing down,
That's the remix
taking
version.
time to figure myself out. Not knowing how, when the sun will come up, so I'll
Can you solo that
from
bass?
this mountaintop.
It's got like octave below.
Yeah, it's got a nice. It's that exact thing. It's that thing you want in this song. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I love that kind of buzziness over top.
That's
too.
super great. There's currently right now, Dave Grohl is doing this thing on YouTube where
I saw that.
the Hanukkah songs.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. I haven't dug into it too much, but it's him and this other guy, and I don't know who the other guy is, but he's like a synth guy. So
Yeah.
and they're doing all these cover songs, and there's a couple of of the sounds that the synth guy is using where I'm like, oh, that's a good sound. And this one of them reminds me of this. It's that I don't know, that like dirty, but it's not dirty. It's like sweaty bass. Is that a thing?
I know.
It's just
I think so.
It's moist. The bass is moist.
Oh, totally. Put some wah in there or something like that.
Yeah, it's a really great sound. But so that is a for people that are Reason standalone users, this is where the plug-in mindset shifts a little bit, where you are, it's like Well, I mean, it literally is in the way that a plugin is. It's like each instance of the Reason Rack plugin is it's a separate rack of Reason. It's not all living in. But if you're used to Reason standalone, you're putting all your instruments in the same rack.
Yes.
And it kind of, that is the environment. But here, it's like mini racks, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, which is really cool. It's so great that we have it.
And
have it in here.
Yeah, and then when you are sort of, I wonder if you could, like when you're working in Maschine, then you're sort of in the Maschine mindset, which I guess gets into more, you know, that's where the sort of sample chopping and a lot of the sort of pad-based stuff comes in and all that. But then you're just sort of, as you need to utilize a Reason sound, you just drop it in via a Reason Rack plugin. You were saying there was something that, something Maschine doesn't do that you get into on the Cubase side of things is sort of inter-channel communication with the MIDI.
That's right. Yeah. Do you want me to pull up that?
Yeah,
Cubase
maybe.
one?
Yeah. So when you're when you're in Maschine like this, and you want to use a Reason sound, you bring up the Reason sound. But when you're in another environment like Cubase, you can actually, there's a little more interactive. It's that sort of.
Yes.
It's still the Reason Rack plugin, so you're still dealing with, and you're still treating it like separate instances of the Reason Rack, but you can actually make Reason interact with Cubase in kind of cool ways.
Yeah, and for this stuff here, it's I can show you here is mostly the players.
Oh, you're back. Okay, you briefly went away. Yep.
Probably a sample rate changed.
Probably.
I'm shocked that this actually works.
You know what? Don't tempt fate. I mean, we're still
seriously. Yeah, but dude, I think we pretty much like almost made it here. When you started this live stream out by saying this is the last live stream of 2020, I was like, oh, dude,
the thunderclouds.
What's he doing? Yeah, exactly. And it's windy outside. I was just waiting for the power to go out or something.
No, I'll go one further. You know, it's we've actually made it through 33 episodes now without having the stream drop or my power cut or anything, like nothing like that's happened.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, we'll just say the stream's done and then anything else is gravy, right? It's like,
totally.
So we made it.
Totally. That's awesome. Cool. Let's check out.
Okay. So yeah, with Maschine, you can't choose to have MIDI come from another source internally. Okay. That makes sense. So what I've got here is, this is in Cubase, I've got a bunch of tracks, and like this one here is.
I'm gonna zoom in on your screen a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see. Move things over. Okay. So I've got. I'm gonna have to get my brain around this again. I've got.
That's the other thing, though, right? When we switch DAWs this fast, it actually can break your brain.
Yeah, bear with me. But okay, so we've got a Reason Rack plugin on a track here, and this one has the dual arpeggio on it, as well as a scales and chords.
Okay.
And so let's see if it's working. I'm just gonna mute this guy. There we go.
Am I hearing that the Cubase click?
Yeah, it's the Cubase click.
Classic.
Okay, so yeah, what I've got here is one track that's got the single note information of what to send to scales and chords, which then goes into the dual arpeggio. So without the scales and chords, this would just be, let's see. Just one note, right? Okay. And so then with scales and chords, I put that one on, and now we've got the scales and chords set to like D minor, and it's set to a setting on the notes here that gives you more notes in the chord.
Oh,
so you can see which chord is popping up. We've got a D minor 7 at 11.
Oh, you've gone the full Monty there with the color switch turned on.
Yeah, exactly. And then we go to the B flat major 7 at sharp 11. You know,
like you do. And then I'm glad you said it, because I was going to suggest that chord as the obvious chord that I would.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But that
exactly.
you're you're actually getting some really nice chords out of that. You know, a
Yeah.
lot of times when I use scales and chords and I go to the 4, that's 4 notes, right, per chord.
Yeah.
When I go to 4 notes per chord, you get a really nice 7th chord, and then you go to the next chord, and it's also 7th chord, and then I start wanting to automate that that switch.
The notes thing. Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah,
you've got it.
yeah.
You've got it set so it's on a constant on 4, and the color switch is on, which just
Yeah. I think part of it is it works better in a minor key. If you're in a major key, I bet you you'd start getting some like a sharp 11 in a minor key sounds kind of neat. But
there's your tip there, guys. If I, 'cause
yeah,
I don't
right.
think I've
There you
done.
go.
I don't think I've messed around with it in. I mean, I don't know if I have messed around with it in minor keys. I tend to. This is maybe the incorrect thing for me is I'll just go like, oh, I'll just stay in the relative major key. It's like it's the same
Right.
notes, but actually it probably
Right.
does change the behavior of that color switch.
Yeah,
I hadn't considered
if it's. But I think if we're on D minor, it's probably going to be like the natural minor, which is technically the same as if it was in a major.
But
key,
I'm thinking
so.
the algorithms that those guys, the boys back in
Yeah,
Stockholm,
who
have written
knows?
for the
Who
color switch
knows?
and stuff. Who knows?
You're right.
So
Yeah.
we should mess
So
around.
yeah, so
But-
that's going through into dual arpeggio. Do you want to show that one for a sec, or what?
Yeah,
what
sure. Is that it looks like that's you're running a dual arpeggio preset there. But I think the key to
Yes.
this is that is the last device really is that you're actually not. There's no Reason instrument in this chain.
No, yeah, and that's going out to another track which has a Reason Rhodes in it, but that could be anything, right? That could be any virtual instrument.
Oh, I see.
Which is really neat, right? So I could load up any other Rhodes device here, and it would play.
So
that.
play.
So
Can you solo the that combination for a second just to hear the?
Just these guys, like
Yeah. Perfect. We already
Yeah.
are soloing it.
yeah.
For the sake of
I wanted to-
explicit demonstration, could we swap then the
Yeah.
what is currently just another version
Yes.
of Reason, but let's go to something
Yeah,
else.
let's try. Go to Arturia stage. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's just go with that.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's now triggering an Arturia instrument, and now I was thinking we need to adjust the velocities here just a little bit.
Dare I
can,
be so
Yeah, go for it. Give me
corporate as to
tips.
say is this making me appreciate radical keys?
Yeah, it is good. It is really good. I agree.
But
yeah.
I shouldn't. I just ended the DAW Wars. I can't get the DAW Wars.
Yeah, way to
going
go.
again.
Come on.
But
Try to get along here.
That's right. But this is something. I mean, for people that are Reason Rack plugin users, this is a major thing that you can.
It is.
That players can play any other plugin.
Exactly.
And that is true of most. I'm trying to think. I know that this technique works in Ableton. It works in Logic.
Probably Studio One as well.
Probably Pro Tools.
Yeah.
It doesn't work in Maschine. There's probably some others
Yeah.
that may not work in. But it's down to the DAW itself. If the DAW
Yeah.
allows for inter-channel MIDI communication.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. So I'm setting this Arturia Rhodes to get its MIDI information from the Rhodes rack chords output. So this track right here is sending its MIDI information over here. I'm doing the same thing on a Lie by Expressive E. I'm using scales to trigger the right notes.
Oh, you know what?
Let's see if I can get this one working.
Before I'm going to mention this, we don't.
Yeah.
We just let's come back to what
Yeah.
I'm about to say,
Yeah.
so we don't forget.
Yep.
Someone is asking if we could solo without any player to hear the Rhodes with a more lifeless sound. Daryl, the thing about this is that if we turned off both players, it wouldn't do anything because the instrument itself is
Exactly.
not playing. But we could turn off
Yeah.
Maybe dual arpeggio just to hear. Because
okay,
that's
yeah,
what
so I
the
can just
life is
play it.
coming from dual arpeggio. Oh no! Can you play the part as you recorded it, but just with scales and chords only on?
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, so I turn the scales and chords on. There it is. Exciting.
That's it, right? And the chord change?
Sharp 11.
Right. And so the life, all that part is coming from that. That's coming from that dual arpeggiator.
Yeah, and you can hear the two arpeggios. There's the top one. Here's the bottom one.
Oh, okay. It's almost a left-hand, right-hand thing.
Yeah, and that's why this is so cool. I was messing around with this. I came back to it. I was like, did I play that? And I had to go look. And I'm like, no. That was a tweaked Seventh Heaven preset.
That's great. That's great.
That's all it is.
So you were saying you're doing the same techniques elsewhere in this little idea.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yeah. So I've got on the Forest kit here, which is a Maschine kit, I've got beat map. So where's that guy?
While you're looking this up, Tim Hudson has a question. How do you do this in Reason 11? I believe what he means is Reason 11 standalone, the standalone DAW. Tim, it's far more organic in Reason 11 standalone. You actually, because everything's happening in the same rack, you can just drag players on top of any instrument. You're good to go. If you have if you did have a VST like the Arturia collection that you wanted to bring in that instrument and put a player above it, you just do it. It just works. There's really nothing to it. If you wanted to get into layering multiple instruments together, you do it in a combinator, and it just all kind of all works. It all just works. It's a little more.
It's a beautiful thing, and then you can save it too, right? You can save it as a combinator patch.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So yeah, the answer, Tim, is that it's sort of the way the Reason is designed. This type of modularity and stacking and interaction is so organic to the way it functions.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. So what was this other one that you?
Yeah, so this is a beat map kit. There we go. Okay, so this is a Maschine kit. Different one. So you've got that guy going right there. That I've got just as its own track, and then we've got this beat map. So we've got Maschine, then we've got a beat map on a track that's got a Reason Rack plugin, so that's it right here. And then that MIDI information is going to my Maschine instrument.
So you're playing a Maschine drum kit via beat map.
Exactly. So when I press play, it's this beat map right here, so I can mess it up a bit. And then as soon as I'm happy with it, I can just go record it right here. And there, now I've got 2 bars of that beat ready to go. I can go mess around with it a bit more, record a different pattern. It's kind of like saving patterns in the pattern mutator. You know how you
yeah, a little bit, right.
Know,
but you're basically rendering, you're taking what is happening as a sort of in a runtime player, and you're rendering it out to like hard printed MIDI, basically, right?
Yes, and then I could go in, of course, and edit all of that MIDI information and change it up,
tweak it manually
swing in there. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is such a I maybe I'm hammering the point almost too much, but I just think for anybody that does work in these DAWs and they're using Reason as a plugin, this is like one of the most exciting things that you may not be fully tapping and should start getting into. Is that players are so gosh darn creative. I mean, when they first came out, I was making a bunch of videos for the videos. I was making the player tutorial videos, and I made all this music, and I was like, it got to a point where after like a month of just being immersed in players, I started going like, wait a second, how did I make music before players? Like, how did I write chord progressions before players, and how did I and I know the answer, like with the arpeggiator type stuff that you were doing, I did that where I would sit for 5 hours in an evening, and I would just sit in the piano roll, nudging notes, trying things out, and at the end of 5 hours, I'd come up with 16 bars of this kind of interesting little thing. And I was like, oh, that's how I did it. Yeah, tediously.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's also like the thing I love about it with beats and stuff like that is you're taking an instrument that you like, and there's just like an infinite amount of possibilities with something like beat map. So it's kind of like using a loop, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much more variation, and then you can go and tweak that afterwards. So it's like I've never had a problem using loops. I've never had a problem using presets, and but this just is kind of like using a loop, but with way more possibility, way more potential, and then again, a starting point that you might not come up with on your own.
Yeah.
And then you mess around with it, tweak it, and make it your own, and then.
That's the thing, you know, when you get into these players, you know, if Reason is new to you and you've been a long time Cubase user or Ableton user or whatever, if Reason's new to you, there's a lot within the Reason rack in terms of the instruments, the effects, all that stuff that you can play around with. But putting these players on things that you already know well, I don't know. There's like I think it might start to make the light bulbs go off and the switches flip for
exactly
not just what it means for those instruments, but then you go like, oh, and then I can do this within the rack itself with putting players above an instrument, and that, you know, I don't know. I think it's sort of a way in for people that may be more plug-in minded.
Yeah, exactly.
That is, but so I was going to ask you, so you are a longtime Cubase user, you are a longtime Reason user, demo guy from way back, you're a relatively recent Maschine user, but certainly immersed in that hardware for the purposes of your content. And you were saying that you can switch gears when you're thinking of, you know, to work differently in different ones. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but what is, if you were to articulate it, what would be the set of kind of creative instincts that would cause you to go, you know what, I'm gonna fire up
switch
Cubase.
over to Maschine or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think part of Maschine's appeal is how easy it is to sample things. So you take a little thing that you've just done, whether it's a beat or some chords or something like that, and then you can very quickly just drag and drop that and turn that into a sample, slice it up, and then now play with your own little ideas as if they were some loop that you just bought somewhere. And but playing with those loops and playing with samples is a huge part of our music making thing. It's like it's all about all the lo-fi chill hop kind of stuff and some neo soul. It's all like a lot of that is based on using a sample that's been chopped up. Right. And so now you do that yourself, and again, you're just taking your creativity and you're making something that is your own thing. Nobody else has that loop, you know. And it's so fast. It's so quick how you can chop things up. So, and then using the hardware, like I say, it's just it's very intuitive, but it's also like satisfying. That's what it is. It's so satisfying. And there's something about that. I've got an old Maschine video from my early days of 2 years ago where I went around the house and recorded sounds around my house that sounded like a B flat or a B, and I sampled them. Yeah. And then I made a song out of that, and it was that was one of the first times I got really like into the sampling and creative aspect of using Maschine in that way. And I got to do more of those because that kind of stuff is so fun, recording found sound stuff, you know. Yeah, right. And so as far as like, so that's one of its strengths. And then another great strength of it is it has fantastic, these expansions they release are really, really great. And the sounds they get are great just for beat making. And so that's kind of where I'll go if I'm heading into that kind of direction, you know. And but then now with Reason, so now I get to go back into the Reason environment as well, which is going to be really cool because I like one of the things I got into early on was the routing of cables in Reason, and just so I'm excited to get back into that kind of stuff and what you can achieve with the combinator and with all of the. I remember when the Matrix came out. I can remember that you remember what version it was? It must have been 2 or 3
Matrix,
or something like that.
I think Matrix was
Not not the Matrix, the Spider. The Spider,
the Spider was
Splitters.
in 2. Yeah, that was in 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and just and showing that to people and going like, the people who make Reason have no idea how much stuff you can do with their software now. Like, you can create things that they've never thought of.
That is true.
That was my sort of shtick back in the day, right? It's like, think about how powerful this software is.
But you're not wrong. In some ways, when the open architecture of Reason's cabling was created, it was sort of like, I'm going to use a hyperbolic example here, but it's sort of like, when AI, when we're talking about AI now, it's like we got to be like, be careful, because once we turn it on, like you never know where it's going to go. And it's like when those guys in Stockholm created the cabling system in Reason, they didn't conceive of how far people were going to take it. They were thinking of relatively, not relatively simple, but they were thinking of like the type of routing they wanted to do. They were making it for themselves, But it got carried so far beyond what I think people realized was a
I'm excited to dig back into what people are creating for Reason as well. Like, I used to use a lot of the old, like, Flatpak, and Hef made all of that stuff, like all of the refills and stuff. And so I'm excited to get back into those.
There is a refill. I don't know if people, we were talking about the Reason 1 devices way back when. There was a refill that I used to use all the time called Fat Math. And it was all subtractor patches. But it was like, I remember when I first started using it, and this was, at a time when there was, I think Thor was even out. So I had the options to go to Thor, Maelstrom, but the sound designer who made the Fat Math refill was so good. If it's out there, people should look for it, because I think it was I want to say it was a free refill back in the day. Yeah. So it surely is still a free refill then. But speaking of old devices and your old Reason era, your demo guy era, you've got some of your old would have been in-store demo material that you would have been showing back then?
Yeah. Probably Reason 2. You want me to fire it up?
Yeah, fire it up.
It might be kind of embarrassing, but whatever. This one, is my audio still working?
Yeah. This is in the spirit of the Reason 1 song challenge last couple weeks ago.
So there you go. So let's fire it up. This one is, it actually features, I have a daughter who is 16, which is crazy, but and she actually, we were talking about possibilities and things like that, and she ended up being on a Sesame Street video as the voice when she was 6 years old. Yeah, and she's got way more views on her videos than I will ever get on my YouTube videos.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that funny? So she was 6 years old, and she came into the studio and sang this song that was written by the Wow Wow Wubsy guy, which is a TV, like a kid's cartoon or whatever. And so he wrote these songs called Water and what was the other one? Quiet or Loud were the 2 songs on Sesame Street on YouTube, so you can look them up. But that's my daughter when she was 6 years old. And so this song I used to sample all sorts of things, slice it up in Recycle, and then tweak them or play them in Dr. Rex, the original Dr. Rex.
So you made this, This is right. Yeah. This is the single loop version of the Rex player.
That's right. Yeah.
You would have made this song when circa 2003?
2005.
2005. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, anyways, you want me to just play it?
Yeah, play a little bit. Yeah.
Play it out on this one, or just play a little bit?
We'll play a little bit.
Really into Chemical Brothers at the time. Maelstrom.
Oh, it's great. So it is so It is so circa 2005. It's like this wonderful
I know.
little time capsule where,
It
like,
is.
having just done the Reason 1.0 song episode
Challenge, yeah.
What it makes me realize is, like, you can actually hear about 4 years worth of Reason development in this song. You know, like it sounds more advanced than those Reason 1 songs did.
Right.
But
right,
it still
has
sounds
a ways to go.
It's I mean, it sounds of a time, you know. I mean, part of it's the musical influence of the time as well, you know, like, because you're right, that Chemical Brothers is in full effect there,
all
you know?
over that.
And
Yeah,
there
that's
is
for
that
sure.
like the sample of, like, you know, that announcer voice thing that was just
in
like
Budapest or something like that, you know.
yeah. Oh, it's great. It actually reminds me a little bit of there was a demo song that Josh Mobley made. I bet you the Reason fans in the chat can remember.
Would know, yeah.
Yeah, it was called, like, what was the name of that? It was a demo song, and it was for a long time in Reason. And this sort of sounds similar to what Josh Mobley was doing in that track. They're kind of.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let me know in the chat, guys, because it's going to bug me now.
Yeah.
I want to say it began with the letter N, nihilistic. I'm going to start making up titles. Nihilistic pudding. No.
That's a great title. That's a good band name.
Neuropathic. Yeah, exactly. Neuropathic trainers. No, I can't remember what it is. If you guys remember what I'm probably way off. I'm probably throwing people off. If you know the name of the Josh Mobley's Reason 4 demo song, throw it in the chat. But yeah. So Jeff, listen, I like the selfish guy that I am. I have kept you on a live stream for almost 2 hours. Every single time I have a guest on, I tell them it's like, it's like an hour. It's never an hour. It's never. And that's a credit to you guys, because you're all so much fun to talk to, selfishly for myself, but I think everybody else does enjoy talking to you guys as well. But I want to be kind to you and let you get on to your
no
day
problem,
as well.
man. This has been a blast. My first live stream ever. So.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
You did it like a champ. You live streamed. And no blood was shed. We survived.
That's right. No crashes, nothing.
No, it was
amazing.
Great. I wonder. So, if I'm gonna assign you a task that I've assigned many people before, being our outro music. And all you need to know, it's really simple instructions. We can use this demo song. It's perfect.
Yeah.
You start playing it. When I give you the cue, you're gonna drop the volume about 12 to 14 dB or so. And then when I'm done and I say goodbye to everybody, you're gonna fade it back up, and it's gonna be choreographed.
Amazing.
I mean, you know, you've worked in post, you know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. But listen, if people, so I've had your YouTube channel on the screen this whole time, so hopefully people are gonna be checking you out. Do you have a Instagram and other social that's worth?
Yeah, you can
people?
just go to Jef Gibbons on Instagram.
So it's just Jef Gibbons all around. That's where to find you. And Jeff with one F, right?
Jeff with one F. I lost an F. It was a tragic battle with another dude named Jef Gibbons who was a musician in Vancouver. Oh yeah. There's another Jef Gibbons here in Vancouver.
He took your F. Does he have 3 Fs now?
I know. I'm not sure. I should just give it to him, really.
Yeah. You should mail him an F.
He seems like a good guy.
Well, listen, I feel your pain. I feel your pain, because there's a there's a Ryan Harlan on SoundCloud that nabbed the SoundCloud.com/Ryan Harlan. That ain't me.
You mentioned that somewhere else.
Yeah. That ain't me.
Do you know what's crazy? I didn't mention how we spent the last 7 years also getting into video production, my wife and I.
Yeah.
And so when I was first getting into that, I went and ordered like a $6,000 Canon C100 camera, and it's the first like big camera that we were going to buy. It was so exciting. And I ordered it from this store in Alberta and paid for it and everything, and they sent it out, and it was a Friday, and I was sitting there, I was shooting some photos that night, and I was like, I never gave them my address.
Oh.
How are they possibly sending this to me?
Yeah.
You know, this was before like your credit card just automatically pops up the address and
right,
stuff.
Right.
And I went back and I looked at the invoice, and it said to Jef Gibbons in Alberta.
Oh no!
Yeah, so it was on its way to another Jef Gibbons. So I had to like stalk him and then call him up and say, hey, it's Jef Gibbons. You got a camera coming to your house and it's not yours.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well,
he was a great guy though.
That's
so
good.
anyways.
That's good.
Yeah, lots of Jef Gibbons.
But so that's the key to know. Jeff with one F.
Yes,
Gibbons.
Jeff with one F.
Two B's, one
Not
F.
The other guy, or the other guy.
That's right. Otherwise, you end up on
Yeah.
some Alberta Instagram.
That's
It'll be
right.
won't make any sense.
He's a great guy. They're all great guys.
That's
really.
good. I mean, all
We're gonna
Jeff
start a
Gibbons
club.
are. I've only met 100% of Jeff Gibbons I've met in life have been the best guys.
That's a
so.
good track record, man. That's a good track record.
Well, listen, thanks so much
Awesome.
for joining us. And
Yes, my pleasure.
And yeah, you have the distinct honor of also wrapping up this, I don't know, the season of live streams, whatever you want to
2020.
call it. Yeah, wrapping up 2020. So, all
Right
right, so
on,
let's
okay.
cue us off from about, well, give us back to the top of the bar, actually, because I don't, or unless it's a long song. How long is it?
It's a couple of minutes.
Oh, yeah, okay. We'll probably
Yeah.
be okay. If it,
I'll,
if it gets, if you see it getting to the end and I'm still yammering
I'll just
on,
loop it.
Yeah,
You
just
got
loop it
it.
back somewhere. Cool.
yeah. you
Okay,
got it.
cool.
Okay, here we go.
Thanks so much, Jeff. Yeah, pull us down. Keep going, keep going. That's probably good. I think that's okay. All right, guys, we made it. Not only did we make it, like through this episode, which I got to tell you, I've done 33 of them, and I still, at this point, I go, we made it. The technology worked. It's amazing. But not only did we make it through this episode, we made it through, I don't know what we're going to call this, season 1 of the Reason Livestream, or just the 2020 era of the Reason Livestream. And that means that we're off next week. We're off for a few weeks, for an indeterminate number of weeks currently, but we are going to come back in January and do more stuff. I think the great experiment of the Reason Livestream has been, number one, these are fun to do for us and fun for you guys to tune into. Number two, we're making great music and all learning stuff together, and that is what it's all about. So how can we not just do more things like this? Let's just keep building on this and keep doing this. So I hope everybody has a good rest of their 2020. And I hope everybody, in a safe, distanced, maybe isolated way, rings in 2021, and turns around and gives the finger to 2020, and we move on and we really celebrate all that's going forward. But I hope we enter the new year with a lot of new music being made by all of us, and hopefully through some ideas that came up from all of our fantastic guests. And I got to give a shout out. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to all of the guests. We've done 33 episodes. I don't know how many guests that is. Some episodes have had 2 guests, 3 guests. Some you guys joined and we had 40 guests. So all of the people who have participated in this stream, thank you so much. Stefan, who has been, I don't know if you guys realize, Stefan is working the night shift over in Sweden to be with you guys in the chat and do all the amazing work that he does. I could not do this without him. I know, because I've tried on a few episodes and it's harder and lamer, and you guys suffer in the chat and I suffer in trying to multitask. So Stefan, thank you. I don't know why I did the namaste hand. Namaste, Stefan, thank you. But listen, guys, have a great rest of your year. I don't want to say goodbye. I want to keep hanging out, but we got to say goodbye. And we'll see you in the new year. So go keep making music and enjoy. See you guys.